General Hospital spoilers predicts a dangerous truth is inching closer to the surface, just as Drew lies helpless in a hospital bed, and the people around him believe the worst has already passed. What no one sees yet is that the real threat is not over, and that the past is quietly circling back with teeth. Brook Lynn is about to step into the center of a story she never expected to uncover, and once she does nothing in her marriage, or in Port Charles will ever feel safe again. Drew's current condition has everyone focused on the word stroke and on medical charts and whispered conversations in sterile hallways. Doctors speak in careful tones, and loved ones cling to the hope that this tragedy is random and cruel, but not intentional. The truth is far darker. Drew's collapse did not come out of nowhere, and it was not the first time someone tried to end his life. Months ago, Drew was shot twice in the back and survived by pure luck. At the time the case went cold, and the police failed to find proof strong enough to hold anyone accountable. Willow was quietly cleared, and the court declared there was not enough evidence to move forward. The city moved on even though the danger never truly disappeared. Willow was the one who pulled the trigger back then. That secret stayed buried because she was careful, and because someone helped her erase the trail that could have led straight back to her. Now Drew is fighting for his life again, after being injected near his neck with a syringe that caused catastrophic damage. The pattern is clear when the pieces are lined up. Someone wanted Drew gone, and someone was willing to try again when the first attempt failed. No one suspects Willow now, because the narrative has shifted. Michael has become the new focus of speculation and whispers. Old tensions and recent arguments make him an easy target in the court of public opinion. Willow watches as suspicion moves away from her and onto someone else, and she tells herself that she is finally safe. What Willow does not realize is that the person who may unravel everything is not a detective or a doctor but Brook Lynn. Brook Lynn has always trusted Chase more than anyone else in her life. Their marriage has survived stress and disappointment and heartbreak, but at its core Brook Lynn believed that Chase was honest and loyal. That belief is about to be tested in ways she never imagined. It starts with a feeling that something is off. Chase grows distant and distracted and oddly defensive. He brings up the idea of adoption again, and chooses the worst possible moment to do it. Brook Lynn is not ready, and he knows that. The suggestion feels less like hope and more like an excuse to create tension. Chase begins picking fights that feel forced and unnecessary. He complains about the Quartermaine mansion and the constant chaos and suddenly insists he needs space. Brook Lynn is hurt, but also confused. This is not how Chase usually behaves when he is overwhelmed. It feels calculated, as if he wants an argument big enough to justify leaving. When he storms out, Brook Lynn is left standing in the wreckage of their conversation with a sinking feeling that this is not just about stress or fear or even their future as parents. Instead of staying home and spiraling, Brook Lynn does something she rarely does. She listens to her instincts. She follows Chase quietly and keeps her distance. What she sees shatters her assumptions in seconds. Chase does not go to a bar or a friend's place or even to work. He goes straight to see Willow. From a distance it looks like a secret meeting charged with emotion. Brook Lynn's heart pounds as jealousy and betrayal crash over her. The image of her husband with another woman is painful enough, but the truth waiting behind that door is far worse than an affair. Brook Lynn stays hidden and listens. At first the conversation is muffled and confusing. Then she hears words that freeze her in place. Chase talks about the gun. He talks about the Quartermaine mansion, and about how he knew exactly where it was kept and how easy it was to get it without raising suspicion. He admits that he handed it to Willow himself. Brook Lynn's breath catches as the pieces snap together with terrifying clarity. Chase helped Willow shoot Drew months ago. He was not just aware of the crime. He was an active participant. The revelation does not stop there. Willow speaks about the syringe and about making sure no one connects the dots. She hints that Drew's current condition is part of the same plan, and that Chase helped guide her again. The man Brook Lynn married is not just lying to her. He has been conspiring in attempted murder. The realization is dizzying and surreal. Brook Lynn presses her hand to her mouth to keep from making a sound as the weight of what she is hearing threatens to pull her to the ground. As Brook Lynn listens, more becomes clear. Chase and Willow are not just covering their tracks. They are planning a future together. They talk about clearing obstacles, and about how everything will finally be easier once Drew is gone, and once Brook Lynn is no longer in the picture. The implication is chilling. Their alliance is not born from desperation alone, but from lingering feelings and shared guilt. They believe that by protecting each other, they can rewrite their lives and erase the damage they caused. Brook Lynn's mind races. She thinks about Drew lying unconscious, and about Michael being quietly judged by everyone around him. She thinks about how close she came to being completely blind to the truth. Chase engineered his behavior to push her away and to give himself freedom to move without questions. The adoption talk was a distraction. The fights were strategic. Everything was designed to buy time and space while Willow executed her plan again. The emotional impact hits hard and fast. Brook Lynn feels rage and grief and a deep sense of betrayal that cuts sharper than any physical wound. She loved Chase and trusted him with her future. Now she sees that the man she shared her life with is capable of destroying others without remorse. The realization forces her to confront a terrifying choice. She can stay silent and protect herself, or she can expose the truth and bring down two people who once meant everything to her. Brook Lynn understands the risk. Chase is a cop, and he knows how to manipulate systems and narratives. Willow has already escaped justice once and believes she can do it again. Accusing them would mean war. It would mean public scrutiny and pain and possibly danger. Yet staying quiet would make Brook Lynn complicit. She would be allowing Drew's attacker to walk free and Michael to remain under a cloud of suspicion for a crime he did not commit. As she slips away unseen, Brook Lynn knows that nothing will ever be the same. The secret she just uncovered is too big and too deadly to ignore. Drew's life hangs in the balance, and the truth is finally within reach. What happens next will determine who pays the price for the violence that has haunted Port Charles, and whether love can survive when it is built on lies and blood. Brook Lynn does not sleep that night, and not because of fear alone, but because every second her mind replays what she heard and what it means for everyone she cares about. The image of Chase standing so calmly while discussing a gun and a syringe refuses to fade. By morning her shock hardens into resolve. She understands that silence would not protect her marriage or her conscience. It would only protect two people who already crossed a line they can never uncross. Brook Lynn begins carefully. She does not confront Chase right away because she knows emotion would give him the advantage. Instead, she watches him. Every word he says now sounds rehearsed. Every expression feels measured. When he asks about Drew's condition, his concern seems hollow and oddly distant. When Michael's name comes up, Chase subtly steers the conversation in a direction that paints Michael as volatile and dangerous. Brook Lynn recognizes it for what it is, an attempt to keep suspicion away from Willow and himself. Meanwhile, Willow remains outwardly calm and supportive as she visits the hospital and offers quiet prayers at Drew's bedside. Nurses praise her devotion, and family members thank her for being strong. Brook Lynn sees through the performance now, and it turns her stomach. Willow's tears feel calculated, and her whispered apologies sound like rehearsed lines meant for an audience. The irony is unbearable that Willow stands there pretending to grieve the very man she tried to kill twice. Brook Lynn knows she needs proof, not just overheard words that Chase could deny. She returns to the Quartermain mansion under the pretense of gathering old documents. In reality, she is searching for any trace of the weapon or evidence of Chase's involvement. The house is full of memories and echoes, and the weight of history presses down on her as she moves through familiar rooms with a new sense of dread. Every corner now feels like part of a crime scene. Her persistence pays off when she finds a detail that was overlooked months ago. A security log that shows Chase accessing a restricted area at an unusual hour on the night Drew was shot. At the time it meant nothing because Chase was trusted and above suspicion. Now it feels like a missing puzzle piece sliding perfectly into place. Brook Lynn photographs everything and stores it somewhere Chase would never think to look. As Drew's condition stabilizes slightly, doctors confirm that the damage was caused by a toxic substance introduced directly into his bloodstream. The news spreads quietly, but it confirms Brook Lynn's worst fears. This was no random medical event. Someone tried to finish what they started. The walls feel like they are closing in, and Brook Lynn realizes that time is no longer on her side. Chase senses the shift before Brook Lynn says a word. He notices her distance and her sudden calm. He presses her with questions and feigns concern, but Brook Lynn sees panic flicker beneath his composure. When she finally confronts him, she does not accuse him outright. She simply asks one question about where he was the night Drew was shot. Chase hesitates for just a fraction of a second, and that is all she needs to see. The argument that follows is quiet but devastating. Chase denies everything and insists that Brook Lynn is imagining things because of stress. He gaslights her with practiced ease and tries to twist her concern into paranoia. Brook Lynn listens without interrupting, and then calmly tells him she knows about the gun. The color drains from his face, and the silence that follows is heavier than any shout. Chase tries to regain control by appealing to their history and their love. He claims he was trying to protect Willow, and that everything spiraled out of control. He insists that Drew was dangerous, and that removing him was necessary. Brook Lynn hears the rationalizations for what they are desperate attempts to justify the unjustifiable. The man she married is gone, replaced by someone capable of choosing violence and manipulation over truth. Willow becomes more reckless as the pressure builds. She begins pushing Chase to act faster and to ensure Brook Lynn stays quiet. She fears exposure more than anything because she knows another investigation would not end in her favor. Willow underestimates Brook Lynn's strength, and that mistake will cost her everything. Brook Lynn takes her evidence to the authorities quietly and strategically. She does not make a public scene or rush into accusations. She meets with a prosecutor and lays out everything she knows, from the overheard conversation to the security logs. The reaction is immediate and serious. For the first time, the pieces align in a way that cannot be ignored. Michael is finally cleared as investigators shift focus. The relief is visible and raw. He realizes how close he came to losing everything for a crime he did not commit. His gratitude toward Brook Lynn is mixed with anger and heartbreak as the truth about Willow comes into focus. The woman he trusted and defended is revealed as someone capable of calculated cruelty. The net tightens quickly. Chase is questioned, and his story unravels under scrutiny. Inconsistencies pile up, and his access to the weapon becomes impossible to explain away. Willow attempts to flee, but is stopped before she can leave town. The arrest is quiet but final, and the weight of her actions crashes down all at once. There are no tears this time, only shock and hollow disbelief. Drew eventually wakes and learns the truth in fragments. The betrayal cuts deep, but there is also relief in knowing the threat is gone. Justice comes slowly, but it comes with certainty. Chase and Willow face the consequences of their choices, and the future they imagined together dissolves into nothing. Brook Lynn stands at the center of the aftermath, exhausted but unbroken. She lost her marriage and her illusions, but she gained clarity and strength she did not know she had. Port Charles begins to heal as the truth settles and the shadows recede. In the end, Brook Lynn walks away knowing she chose integrity over fear and truth over comfort. The cost was high, but the alternative would have been far worse. The secret that nearly destroyed so many lives is finally exposed, and with it comes the possibility of real healing and a future no longer built on lies.